Okay. Well, I would like to welcome you to Crawl, Walk, Run podcast episode 10. Man's best friend, or is he? And this is a near-death experience with Chelsea Elizabeth. So, first of all, I would like everyone to hear my introduction message, and I will be back to do the official introduction for my guest.
My mission here on my podcast, Crawl, Walk, Run, Voices of the Voiceless, is as followed. In the beginning, we all start out as followers before we are leaders. Some of us will always stay followers because we do not want the responsibility. Some of us are groomed into being successful leaders or mentors. I believe there are platforms to voice your opinion and to promote your message, your trauma or a person's trauma that you are representing, a product or a solution to a problem or a platform. We are like buildings in a large city where we can build a resilience to climate or to the weather. Like trauma and mental health, we build a resilience in our own human infrastructure. There are too many people on the couch who mentally and physically cannot have their voices heard. Some of them do not want their voices heard and remain on the couch and in the dark. It is my mission and your mission to reach out to the lonely, forgotten individuals who cannot get off the couch. We try to inspire them, we motivate, and we help them live another day with our message and our voice. We are the voices of the voiceless, and I am the voice of the voiceless.
All right. So, I am the voice of the voiceless, William Stevens here. And again, we're at episode 10, and it's always an honor to introduce our guest. So I have this little thing that I wrote up. I always like to make my guests look extremely important because I'm not the important one here. I'm just a host. So who are we talking about today? We're talking about Miss Chelsea Elizabeth. So warning, there is graphic in nature in this audio today. You will see in the next few minutes. All right. So today we are very honored and to have a special esteemed guest. Her story is truly compelling. A voice of the voiceless. Just from the first sound of her voice, you will realize the pain that she has suffered. She is here to put to rest the theory that is portrayed that man's best friend is a dog, or is he? She currently resides in Tampa, Florida, has multiple business platforms. She started her business as an independent consulting firm in 2011 while working full-time as a regional manager for an international pharmaceutical company. She has remained behind the black curtain because of animal activists. She currently has a manuscript and many memoirs. I would like to share a piece of one of her memoirs. A memoir of survival, trauma, and fight to reclaim life by Chelsea Elizabeth. Is trauma born one devastating moment, or is it a collision of countless tragedies? I dare you to dig deep into my own wounds, both seen and unseen, to uncover what is truly bites, while trauma are unique as lives. Perhaps our recoveries can intersect and build something stronger together. I never really thought about death. Like many, I've heard stories of the near-death experiences of what people saw and heard, yet few speak of raw sensations of dying. When I felt death, my entire understanding of it was transformed. She is currently working on a manuscript, and she has been working with a marketing team and has not come up with the title of her book yet. She, like many other struggling authors, are trying to get her message out. It is important to voice our opinion, even though we're not in the military, we didn't serve in combat, or we don't have to wait in the long lines or an appointment at the VA. Her story is a lifeline, her battle with reality. She didn't know if she was going to live another day after that heroic experience. The story is a little different, and I don't want to take a lot from her, our special guest. I am only here to introduce her world of trauma that you couldn't even imagine after you hear her story that she has endured. I am so happy to have her here today, a survivor, a warrior, a person who believes we do not hide our demons waiting to come out. It doesn't matter if you're a man or a woman, a cat or a dog. Please give your undivided attention to this survivor and trauma activist, Miss Chelsea Elizabeth.
Thank you very much. That was a kind introduction. Yes, my name is Chelsea Elizabeth, survivor. I was brutally attacked by a rescue dog in August of 2023. No stranger to Great Danes. Have one still, my 7-year-old. This particular one had some trauma that was unresolved, and one night struck, and he removed my neck, scalp, and face. I remember seeing my ears dangling in my peripheral vision, and I remember knowing that life was no more. It was in that moment that life began to, as they say, flash before your eyes. And it was all of those things that I hadn't yet done that needed to be done. And little did I know that I would survive to get much of that done. This being one of those, is to spread the message of life and of getting up and of pulling yourself back up.
So let me ask you a question real quick. So in the beginning of my show, I always ask a couple questions. So I'm just going to say Miss Elizabeth because I'm like that. So what does crawl, walk, run mean to you?
Many things. Crawl, walk, run in its obvious form means you've got to crawl off the couch. You've got to make as much movement as your body will allow. Crawl to the door, crawl to the refrigerator, climb on your knees. Then to walk. I remember in the hospital getting to take the stairs for the first time, and they'd only let me do a half of the flight. But to me, that was the walk. That was the first time I got to move again and get out of the hospital bed and get detached from all the tubes and hoses and wires and monitors and everything. And the run came much later. The run has only yet to begin. I'm only now ready to start speaking and sharing, because only now do I understand trauma and its complexity. It's more than just the obvious event. It's more than just the tragedy. And our trauma doesn't have to be catastrophic. It can be something very simple: loss of a job, loss of a family member, breakups, moving. Some of us have to relocate, traumatic. And so I began to look at trauma on a more global level. And what I realized when I began to find the run is that my trauma doesn't reside with my dogs or with animals at all. I have no fear. I have no blame. I want more Great Danes. It didn't stop me. I'm not afraid. What traumatized me is what happened after the catastrophic event. It was the people, the companies, those that stayed, those that left, those that just came to grab a quick peek. That's where the trauma began. waiting on insurance to say, yeah, we'll go ahead and do this or won't do this, fighting the battles, and being misunderstood. I think a lot of times when we go through something, we have pain. It's very hard to verbalize because we don't know the emotion to place behind it. And so we begin to feel isolated and alone and weird and all wrong. Um, and I had to find the words to support the emotions that I felt. And when I began sharing and listening, just with one person here, one person there, what I realized is the pain of my catastrophic event was the same as their pain, their loss of a child, their loss of a mother, father, their job loss, breakup. The pain was the same. Our experience was very different. And some people want to say on a scale of 1 to 10, that's a 2. Yours is a 10. There's no measuring stick for what has traumatized us, what has given pain. And that's when the run starts, is when you realize that you're in a world of people who understand pain. And what I want to do is be able to articulate that and normalize it and humanize the human emotion again and heal together. One thing that I needed that I didn't have throughout this was people that would say, hey, I get it. I understand. We need more support from each other. And that's the run. That's when we can run. Because when we get tired, we've got somebody right beside us that can pick up the pace and carry us through.
So I want to take the viewers and the listeners back to that day for 15 seconds. So this is graphic in nature. So trauma. So I'm going to ask you, what is trauma, and what do you do from something like this to what you are going through today? Coping mechanisms to help people who have gone through this or have to live through after your surgery. Like, what were your coping mechanisms?
As odd as it sounds, it was going through the photos that the police made, that animal control made. It was watching the doorbell camera videos. It was watching video footage from the house, from outside. I had to, wouldn't say convince myself, I had to know that what happened really happened. Sometimes the gravity of your own reality doesn't seem real, and it's just an idea. And in order to get to the trauma, to get through the trauma, I had to validate that trauma. I had to validate myself. I had to know that what happened was terrible. And I had to see it. I went months without looking in a mirror, without touching my head, my face, my neck. I had to wash my head. I had Penrose drains. I had to wash my head 5 times a day. And when home health wasn't there, I had to wear thick ski gloves and plastic gloves over those because I couldn't bear to touch my own head, nor could I feel my own head. So you can imagine the mess that made. But I say that to say that it was hard for me to admit my own reality. And I had to see it and see it again and see it again until I accepted what happened. I had to accept it. And that was the hardest part of it all. That was the most devastating part, because once I accepted it, I had to grieve the death of a life that was before. I had to let go of that life I used to have because life can't go back to what it was. I've got to start all over, ground zero. Everyone else lived on while I was living, trying to survive. And a lot of us don't realize that we're in the moment. We're fight or flight. We've got to get through it, push through it. And then when everything slows down and you try to re-engage in that life you used to have, it's not there anymore. Those people have moved on. Their lives kept going. And they didn't wait for us. And it's a complete redo. Start over.
Are you there?
I am. Yes.
So, I would like to leave the floor open for you. You have the floor. If you need me to help you, like comfort you and help you through the video, all you have to do is ask. Try to interact with a question or something. So I'm going to take these photos down and let you talk. And are you okay?
Oh, yeah, definitely.
Okay, so I'm going to be quiet. We have 17 minutes right now. The floor is yours.
Oh, wow.
So-
What to do with 17 minutes? Well, as you can see by the photo that's up on the screen now, against all odds, I made a full recovery. The injuries, what they were, the skin, the tissue was not expected to survive. And so the prognosis was pretty grim. Skin grafts, back and forth, several surgeries. I have had MRSA. It did slip into the bones years ago. Of course, scalp highly vascular. Here we are right on the bone. And so it was, let's try to fight the infection, do everything we can to prevent. And I can say with gratitude for my team of surgeons, nurses, doctors, I did not get one infection. I did not need one skin graft. I was able to, we'll say, will it well. I wouldn't say that, but I do believe that God's hand of healing was certainly on me. Against all odds, against the prognosis, a full recovery was made in time that doesn't even make sense. That's another one that I had to wrap my mind around, is based on what is written on this piece of paper and what is today. How is it possible that I made a full recovery? How is it possible that everything survived, the tissues survived? How is it possible that the blood clot cleared and did not come back? They did discover a clot in my right vertebral artery at C1, right at the base of the brain. It has never been seen again. So against all odds, I fought back, but that was the easy part. I look back now, I had no idea. I thought that was the hard part, but looking back now, I realized that was the easy part. I just had to take care of myself, listen to the doctors, or not listen to their prognosis rather, and heal physically. A lot of us think that that's the biggest deal. It's physically heal. What I didn't expect and what I didn't know is the emotional and the psychological impact that would occur after I got home. Having home health. I don't know how many of you listeners have had home health, but it was a news flash to me that when you're on home health, you cannot leave your house. You can go to the doctor and you can go home. And so it was like insurance putting you on some type of house arrest. And with me, I like to get up and go and move and see and talk and be. And that was taken away from me, completely taken away from me. And it was doctor's appointment after doctor's appointment until I finally broke. And it was in that break that I really began to, number one, heal physically at a rapid pace. but began to realize where the work needed to begin. And it needed to begin within me. And I had to feel what was going on. And for me, that was the hardest part. I'm not a feelings person. I am a get up and get over it person. And being able to identify feelings was almost impossible for me at first, because they weren't emotions and feelings that I was comfortable having. Just betrayal, heartbroken, lost, alone. None of us like to feel alone. I had chased alone away and lonely away for years, just with a social life. And suddenly I'm stuck in the land of lonely. And nobody around me that I knew or used to know understood what I was going through. And conversation began to lag. Um, it was mid-September, I think a month after, and I was out of the hospital still with home health. My parents came down for a week to spend with me. They're in Tennessee. I'm here in Florida. And it was just kind of rush, doctor's appointments, wound care, not really time to decompress and talk. Of course, their anxieties and worries and fears were high, as were mine. They had an equally a difficult time with this. And, it was that time with them that wasn't valued enough, as I felt. It was very closed off, simply because of the doctor's appointments. And it was when they were leaving, pulling out of my driveway to go back home to Tennessee, that I broke again. And in this break, it was more of a breakthrough in realizing finally what the void was. And that void was the love from your family and your true friends. And against my doctor's wishes, I went in the house after they left, packed a suitcase, and went home, went to Tennessee. What was going to be a week and I'll come back to wound care turned into nearly 4 months. And in that 4 months, the emotional wounds began to heal. It was Christmas. I was sitting around the table with family, and they were, we were talking about just different tragedies throughout the years of our life as extended family. And I would hear my aunt and my cousin share about losing my cousin. He was a police officer killed in the line of duty. And that was 11 years ago. And I heard her speak, and I saw her eyes, and I heard her voice tremble. And I thought, that's the pain I feel. I understand that. And my cousin Brittany, Justin's sister, she talked about her twins who were premature and died before she got to hold them, talk to them, hear I love you, feel them grab her finger. And just the pain that was behind that. And then my mom, she lost her dad when she was 7. My grandmother died when she was in her early 30s. Hearing my mom talk about that, which she never does. I had to ask her on a, private phone call that we had. But the pain was the same. And what was interesting is that I discovered there's no time frame. There's no timeline. You don't get to time out on pain. It's not like, here we are. It's been a week. That's enough. No longer can you grieve. But society has forced us to get over it. And we're unable to feel what needs to be felt. Therefore, we cannot heal. We cannot heal because we just have to get over it and move on. And so if you cannot heal from something like that, guilt festers up, anger festers up, and we become a version of ourselves that we no longer even recognize. And it's not who we want to be, that angry, bitter person, or that sad, person that everyone's like, what a victim, poor thing, let's, get over it. So it's just interesting how my idea of trauma and the breakthrough that I made in listening to other people explain their pain made what an impact it made in my life.
Can I ask a question?
Sure.
So this is all not about negativity, okay? So I just want to, I read through your bio, and I want you to let everyone know how successful you are. Like all these multi businesses that you have, this book that you have coming out. That I gave you a couple hints about a title, but let these people know that like you're no longer behind the black curtain. You are out there. You are pushing 110%.
I am. It was when I got back home to Florida when I left Tennessee that I began rewriting my story, which is the story you'll read. And one thing that kept me, I guess, alive in the hospital was having my laptop and my iPad and being able to work and read emails and feel like I had a semblance of a life, and then getting out and rediscovering life. I have a fantastic job and a fantastic team that I work with, still the same job I've had, and wouldn't change anything, but I realized that the impact that I'm making there pales in comparison to the impact I can make with my story. Ultimately, my goal is to take this as far as it will go and make this my life's mission, my full-time job. And that's supporting people who need support. We don't all have a safe place, and I want to be a safe place where people can say, I'm in pain, help. We all need help. And success is what you make it. If I made $0 doing this, sharing on podcasts, that's a greater success than my full-time job because I have purpose. My pain, everything I went through, there's a reason because I created a reason, and it's to help.
So, do you have anything for closing statement?
Closing statement. I would say anybody listening, I can easily be found Chelsea Elizabeth. Send me a message on Facebook, LinkedIn. I'm happy to empathize. I'm feeling the same way. If your trauma, what hurts happened 20 years ago and it still hurts today, good. Whatever hurt you must have been important, and you don't have to get over it. You're allowed to grieve. You're allowed to feel for as long as you need to. I think removing the time frame is vital because it's not fair to time out on something that hurts us, and burying it is just going to make it worse. The voice for the voiceless. We met spontaneously on Facebook. There was a doctor of sorts that could cure PTSD. And I read her little, I don't even know what you want to call it, claim to fame and selling her whatever she's got to sell. And I was physically ill when I read that. And I read, there was one comment, and I thought, okay, surely no one is buying into this cure PTSD. And lo and behold, it was our man here, the voice for the voiceless, who wrote a very direct message that made me feel okay. Because you can't cure PTSD. We just have to find a way to get through the day We have to find things that bring us a bit of peace. I'll tell people all the time, give me a minute, I'm going to go hang out in my happy place. And I need that space from time to time just because something has flashed up. A memory, a sound. There are certain, for me, a lot of just the sound bothers. And so I have to find out.
So
Completely normal.
I believe my message to you was, it's kind of odd that I end my show with this. Mental health is a life sentence without parole. I just believe that there's all kinds of gimmicks out there. The only way that you can cure any kind of mental health or any kind of illness, it doesn't matter, cancer, anything, is with coping mechanisms. It doesn't matter if you, some of my coping mechanisms for PTSD is I have a weighted blanket. I have a cooling blanket. I wear an ice beanie when I have a headache instead of taking medication. I wear non-Bluetooth earbuds sometimes to bed, and I put eardrops on them just so that I can sleep peacefully instead of taking all this pharmaceutical stuff that is being pushed on to people, because, you know, I truly believe that there are demons out there and they're not going to go away, especially what you endured. There is no, like, going to a therapist and sitting down and paying hundreds and thousands of dollars for them to peacefully talk to you. I mean, I believe if you have 8 minutes to pick up the phone and reach out to somebody, they're going to listen. So I end my show with this. I thank you very much, Miss Elizabeth. Amazing, remarkable story and recovery. I'm sure you're still going through it. Like I said, very successful businesswoman. Let's not take that away from you. And all the haters out there, you can hate all you want. Just like me, people are jealous. I don't care. I'm the voice of the voiceless. And remember, there are 22 veterans a day who commit suicide, their family members, or their loved ones because of the stress and trauma that's going on in the household. Remember, this is episode 10. You can catch it tomorrow night at 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I am the voice of the voiceless. Have a great night.
Every day, 22 veterans and their loved ones lose their lives to the battle within, a fight invisible but deadly. For those who face the horrors of war and the isolation of coming home, this book is more than words. It's a lifeline, a tool to navigate the darkest moments. Author William A. Stevens Jr. opens Pandora's box, exposing the harsh truth of trauma, healing, and redemption. This is also a father's apology, a heartfelt letter to his daughter, a two-time world champion, for the moments lost while trapped in his own pain. Stevens is the voice for those who feel voiceless, writing to inspire, to heal, and to give hope that change is possible. Join him on this journey of survival, forgiveness, and finding peace. The Broken Mirror, available now